Hotep family, Hotep, peace and blessings. I greet you in the name of God and the ancestors, in whose footsteps I most humbly walk. His brother Ed Umoja for today, December. What's today? Today is December 6th, and we are happy to be here with you. We hope everyone's having a happy and a blessed New Year so far, and things are working into positive energy for everyone. I am so blessed today to have the sister on with me. I met her about 2 years ago in New Jersey, in Newark, New Jersey, when she came in for an interview on a show I was producing with Khalil Massey. And she is a professional dancer, but we were talking to her about a role she played at that time in the Black Panther as one of the Dora Milaje. And I'm going to tell you, family, she's standing there. I didn't tell from the day I met her, the second she walked into the room, I was like, I got to talk to the sister. She was so cool when she walked into the room. She had this persona about her. And if you ever meet her, you know what I mean. Okay. She's just really cool. I mean, I've been around a lot of sisters, and some of them, when they walk into the room, they're very cool about who they are. They're very confident about who they are, and they carry themselves as queens. And she's one of them. And so I made my duty to go over and talk to her. And she was so professional, so cool with me. And we exchanged information, and we've been talking back and forth since 2018. So I guess I got to thank the Black Panther for bringing her into my life. Whoever casted her for the Black Panther. So I'm talking about the sister. You see her face. She's there smiling. So we're going to talk to her a little bit about what she does, because I said to her before when I set this interview up, excuse me, that there's a lot of young women out there that need to hear her voice, because we cannot talk about doing positive things if we don't put positive people in front of you, right? So if you don't like what's going on, you have to be the change that you're looking for. So my whole thing is, let me put some positive sisters and brothers out there so the young people could meet them and hear them and hear what they're saying. And probably something she says, I know something she says today is going to affect in a positive some young people somewhere on this global planet. So family, I'm very happy and I'm very blessed to introduce to you Sister Marija Abney, excuse me, out of New York City. Sister Abney, how you doing?
I'm well, Ed. How you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for your time today, girl.
Thank you for having me.
No, you know what? I told you, this is one goal set, one bucket list. I'm interviewing you. And the second one is to actually work with you in front of the camera, to have you in front of my camera one day.
You don't get there?
On the film side. On the film side. I don't do still photography that much as I used to. I still like it, but I really like the film because it gives me the sound and the vibration of voices. So I like that about it. But we're definitely going to get you on there. And so, I want to jump into this with you because I want to talk to you about your education, because sometimes, unfortunately, some people feel education is not as important as it should be. And if it's in a school setting or if it's in a work setting. So let's talk about some of your journey from. Let's talk when you were a teenager.
Okay.
So let's talk about it. So these young teenagers that's out there. What happened in your life that made you want to be a professional dancer and you wanted to pursue that line of work?
Yeah, I actually decided that I wanted to be a professional dancer way before I was a teenager.
Good.
Yeah, I saw Alvin Ailey perform when I was 2, and according to
Wow.
my mother, she tells the story. I sat on the edge of my chair, my sisters fell asleep, and I looked at her and I said, "Mommy, I want to do that."
Wow.
So she scoured Columbia, South Carolina, where I'm from, to find a school that would take someone who was 2.5. And when I was 2.5, I started ballet class.
Wow.
So yeah, I started then. In high school, I went to a performing arts high school, a residential program, and I started coming to Ailey's summer program. And at 16, I started college at Ailey.
So you say performing arts high school. That's the one in New York City or the one down in South Carolina or somewhere?
In South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah. I was there until I came to the Ailey Fordham BFA program here
Okay.
in New York.
So how did that work for you? 2.5 years old? You're in there. You're probably the youngest person in the room. How did that feel like you were actually doing something you saw on television?
I don't know if it wasn't that. I don't know if I connected the two
Okay.
necessarily. I think it was something I enjoyed doing. It was something I love to do. It's actually up until a point, it was something I'd never lived without doing. I actually after I finished college, I quit dancing and joined corporate America for eight
Wow.
months. It
Okay.
was terrible. It was horrible, terrible, terrible, so bad. I got to work at 9 o'clock and fell asleep by 9:30 every single day in my little cubicle. Yeah, so it was definitely not for me. But because my life had always had art, I didn't know if I did it because it was habitual, because I'd always done it and I didn't know my life without it, and I was afraid to take that step.
Okay.
So I had to stop in order to realize, no, I can't live without art. I
Wow.
cannot function without art.
Oh, that's some
My
powerful
body shuts
words.
down.
That's a powerful word. You said, I cannot live without art.
I
That was
can't.
so,
I can't. You know, Ed, we tend not to link happiness and physical well-being, but they're very much so linked. If you're miserable, if you're emotionally and mentally drained, if your occupation is sucking your soul out of your body, your physical well-being is going to be greatly affected. So when I was in corporate America, I started getting sick in a way that I had never gotten sick before. I would pass out every morning on the way to work, literally on the train,
wow.
and I would keel over. And they ran
Wow.
all of these tests and did all of these things and hooked my brain up to all of these things. And yeah, it was because I was unhappy. It was because
Wow.
I was miserable. So I literally cannot live without art, which is
That,
why being in a quarantine situation is really interesting for me.
yeah, I see your Instagrams.
Yeah.
Well, she'd be working out, family. She'd be working out on Instagram. She's really getting into the workout. I'm like, that's not water on her. That's really sweat.
No, that's sweat. I be
As I
working
say,
out.
that's sweat. That's real sweat. She is
Sweat.
sweating. That's interesting. That's very interesting. So what? Okay, so what made you say stop? Let's get back into the art. What happened? There must have had, like you said, you were killing over and you went to had all these you
Yeah.
had tests done and all this stuff done. So you wasn't physically sick. They knew that by the test. So what happened? What light bulb or what aha moment said, you know what? Let me go back and do what I love. What
Yeah.
happened? What
They,
was
the,
that?
the interesting thing is they knew that something was happening. They just couldn't pinpoint what it was. So there's this condition called vasovagal syncope that's common in athletic women, where the blood pools in your legs and you just pass out. That's what they said it was. What happened actually was my partner, actually, he looked at me and he said, "You're miserable. You're miserable because you're not performing. You're not in the arts. You need to get back to what you love to do." So, and it literally just took somebody on the outside of my situation to be like, "No, this is what's actually going on," for me to be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Wow.
So, and I was afraid to put in 2 weeks, so I waited until a week until I had to be like, "Hey guys, I'm not gonna be here next week," and I went back to the business of getting back in shape, which is a whole nother thing. If you don't dance for 8 months, you're gonna be out of shape.
I, I'm not a dancer, but I was in the martial arts and stuff like that for years. I remember when I stopped doing it for a while because I moved from Florida to Alabama, and then when I tried to get back into it when I was in Alabama, my body was like, "Oh, welcome back. So let us give you some extra pain so you remember not to do
Correct.
it."
Correct. I remember I would take a ballet class. I remember being at the bar in a public ballet class with 30 other people, and I would be crying because my body just wasn't doing what it used to do. And I remember
Wow.
this is not a thing. This shouldn't be hard. Like this is you doing plies. Why does this hurt? But it was a process. It
The
was a process.
process. It's the process. So what kind? So you did ballet. You did modern dance. What different types of dance did you study in?
Yeah, I started with ballet. Then I added modern dance in high school. You know, we do ballet, jazz. Tap is probably the only thing that I don't do. Have kind of never done. I did 2 weeks of it when I was a kid, but that's pretty much it. Um, yeah, African dance, Horton Graham, house. Yeah, pretty
Wow.
much, pretty much. Yeah,
You
a
just
decent
the
range.
whole you
A
you
decent
you
range.
touched the whole gamut on some level.
Musical theater, that's what I find myself in most often professionally, dance wise now. So,
So let's talk a little bit about musical theater, and about you. What How does it feel to be? I mean, you've been in Cher, you've been in The Lion King, right? Am I saying that correctly? So
yeah, share Lion King and After Midnight.
excuse me?
And After Midnight
After
was,
midnight. Okay.
yeah.
So how does it feel when you are on that stage and you are performing something that's bringing joy to people in the audience? How does that make you feel?
I'm gonna give you a very honest answer. It it depends. I've had varied experiences with each of those shows. Lion King was my first show, so after I went back to the studio and got back in shape, one of my first auditions was Lion King, I booked Lion King, and so I spent 2.5 years doing Lion King. That might sound like it was luck, but no, I knew that was my job, and so I auditioned for that show until I got that show.
Okay. Now,
So,
what years were that you did? What years did you do Lion King?
2009 to 2012,
Okay.
two and a
Okay.
half years.
That's after me. Okay. Now
Yeah,
I went to see Lion King on Broadway. I was like, I wonder if she was out there in the station. I was there. That was after I saw
yeah,
it.
that was after I was in Vegas as well. So
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
we were doing the
So
sit down in
you were in the Vegas version.
yeah, the sit down in Vegas. Yeah.
Okay. Got you.
So, where was I? Where was I? Where was I?
About booking the job.
What was your question though?
No, I was asking you how did you feel performing
Yes.
on stage?
Okay. So, Lion King was my first gig. So I was. It wasn't a. It wasn't a happy to be in the room, but you're excited to. I was happy to be. It's a great contract. It's a great company. They treat their employees very well. It's a great paycheck. It's professional. Like Lion King exists all over the world, so it runs.
You're right.
The way it runs is incredible. It's very smooth. So I went from that was my first experience where I was happy to have that job and to be doing work that resonated with so many people. And it's really, if you haven't seen Lion King, it's majestical. The world is majestical. Even after being in the show for 2.5 years, I can look at that show, I can see that show and be brought to tears because it's so beautiful. It's so impactful. So that felt good to me. My second show, After Midnight, it was an incredible show. It was one of the best experiences I've had professionally ever. Not specifically because of the show or the content, which was also incredible, but because of the people. My cast members were amazing. We all went to college together, and the director cast us. All of us came through Ailey together at some point. That felt good. Having family where you worked felt good, being able to go to work and we would go shopping together, we would go have lunch together, we would hang out. We were always together. That felt amazing because of the people. Cher was a different experience. After Midnight was a Black show, Black cast, it was Black content. Cher, it was not that. And it was the first time in my career on Broadway that I was dealing with content that wasn't specifically Black. And so for me, and this was during there were political uprisings. There were Black men, as if there are never Black men not being metaphorically lynched. There were things that were happening that had a heaviness with me. And there were 5 BIPOC community BIPOC actors in the show, including myself, but that's 5 out of 26. And because of the content of that show, the entire audience is white. So to feel what I felt outside of the theater and to be so deeply impacted by that, and to walk into a theater and to perform and to not see a single Black face amongst the 1,400 sitting out there watching me, I can't explain what that feels like. The emptiness that you can feel performing in a situation like that, the amount of depletion that you feel. So it kind of but it taught me about myself, that I will say, and it taught me to value my Black cast members, the few that were there, greatly. So it really just it varies greatly from experience to experience,
Right.
based on the content, based on the audience, based on where you are in life,
Right.
based on what's happening in the world. So
Yeah, so I'm listening to you and I'm like, wow, and I never thought about that because no matter how you feel, when you go on stage, you gotta do your very best. Because you have to perform to your top because everyone else around you in your cast is depending on you to do your part correct so that so everyone could look good. So that's very
not
interesting.
even just that, like this is my name. This is my talent. This
Yeah.
is my art.
Hmm.
I am a representation of myself. So I'm
Right.
going to give you no less than 110% every single night. Now know that my 110% is going to vary Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday based on what's happening, but it's going to be my best, my
Right.
very best every time I step on stage.
I like the
That's
way
what
you
I
say.
do.
Right.
That's what I do.
Right.
So, but I do recall moments, and this show, Share, for me was the closest to this type of musical theater that
Hmm.
I've ever been to a more commercial musical theater that I've been. Um, so to feel what I felt, I remember one night you have to go on stage with a smile on your face. In this particular section, it called for me to be smiling. So I went on stage and I was smiling, and I'd had a really rough day with all that was happening, and I was also crying. There was a smile, but there were tears coming out of my eyes. But I was there, and I did my step, and I came off stage, and my best friend asked me, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I am not." But I
Mm,
continued to do my show because that's my job.
that's your job. All right. Wow. As I'm listening to you talking, like I said, I'm nowhere near. I dance just for fun, not for business. But I'm listening to you talking, and then being in the martial arts and stuff like that. Um, I cannot imagine what you go through every night as you're talking about, because you have to give you 110% on that stage. Because once again, couple of things. One, as a Black woman, the bar is very high, that you do an exceptional job. So listening to you talking about it gives me a different frame of mind. Next time I go to the theater and I see a sister on stage doing her thing, I'm gonna be like dancing at whatever she's doing. I'm gonna think about you saying what you just said, because it's like you can't have a bad night, because
Yeah.
it's like, no, like for us now, I work in the space program. I could say, well, hey boss, I'm not feeling too good today, have someone do this instead. You can't really do that on your stuff. You have to come 110% almost every night.
It is. I'm glad you brought up the specificity of being Black and being a Black woman. It is something that weighs heavy on you. Uh, I'll say two things. On the rare occasion during Share where I could spot a Black face, I remember one night there was a little girl, she's probably about between 9 and 11, and her mom, and they were sitting like three to five rows back. I did my whole show for her. My whole 2.5 hours was for this little girl,
Mhm.
this little face amongst a sea of white people, because I wanted her to know, like, I see you, and I see you seeing me, and I hope I'm
Mhm.
inspiring you in this moment.
Wow.
So my whole show was for her.
Huh.
That whole night was for this little girl.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we are not. I'm trying to pick my words carefully. We are not granted the privilege of mediocrity.
Mhm.
Um, it is not. You have to be exceptional, and you
Yeah.
said that. I don't know, and I had this conversation yesterday with a girlfriend of mine that I've been in shows with. I don't know a single Black person on Broadway that is not exceptional in some way. I just don't. I know people on Broadway that are a little mediocre, or that can be little mediocre. They're good. They're good. They're good. But I don't know a single Black person that is not exceptional in some way.
Yeah.
So there is a certain amount of pressure on you. There
Yeah.
is a standard that you have to meet. It's just what it
Yeah.
is.
No, I'm listening to you, and you just bring back memories for me right now. I didn't think about this, but when I went from being a senior in high school to a first year college. I dated a young lady who was a senior in high school, and she went to I think it was Norman Thomas High School, if I remember. Norman Thomas, I think in New York. But she was into dance, and she had a friend who was an exceptional dancer. And he went to I never heard of the school before. It's called Shenandoah Academy. I think it's Shenandoah Academy. It's a dance school down in Virginia. And I remember him talking about how good he had to be to get into this school. He said he had to, I remember him saying one time, he said, I had to outdance everyone there, Black or white. I had to outdance everyone. That was his mentality when he went in there. And as I'm listening to you now, I remember that conversation. I was living in Brooklyn, and I was getting ready to go to my first year in college in Florida. And I remember having this conversation. We were having this, and I wasn't a dancer. And I'm around like 6, 7 of them. All of them were dancers except me. Hey,
Yeah.
because my girlfriend was a dancer, and I remember them talking about this, and I could not really relate to the dancing side, but I could relate to me get into college and how good I had to be to get into college, the college I
Right.
wanted to get to. So as I'm listening to you talking, that's something I think a lot of young people. For that little girl that was there, you performed that night for. It's just like, if she's listening, be your best. And I'm pretty sure you inspired her that night, because for her to sit there and watch you do your thing, they must have had a spiritual connection between the two of you that night. She might not have felt it, but she knew something was very special that night. So thank you for doing that for her. I'm going to thank you for her. Thank you for
Thank you. I
doing that.
appreciate that. She did as much for me that night as I did for her. So,
And that's something for me.
more.
Yeah, that's something for me with what I do behind the camera, or in front, mostly behind the camera. I know I'm 59 years old, and I know through my life, so many people supported me and helped me to get where I am. So whenever I see young people, mostly young boys that look like me, I make sure I always say to them, hey, I call them warriors in training. I say, hey, warrior in training, how you doing? And I'm always making sure that I leave something positive for them, because we don't know what will impact their lives. For me, I met Gordon Parks for 30 seconds, right? And I didn't know who the man was. I didn't know who he was, but he had this persona about him. When he walked into the room, he looked at me and he smiled, and he just made me feel like, wow. And I remember saying to myself, I tell people this all the time, I said to myself, whatever this guy does, I want to do it. Yeah. And whatever's that thing in his hand, which was a camera, I want to do that too. And that was my whole movement into photography. And then later on, my mom gave me a camera. And then many years later, when they had the anniversary for Shaft, he was at the theater. They had a showing in Manhattan, a theater in Broadway. And he was there, Richard Roundtree was there, and Isaac Hayes was there. And I went up to him and I said to him, thank you, Mr. Parks. That's all I said to him. I said, thank you very much. Because I had to say something to him. I was like, thank you very much. Because of that 30 seconds.
Because of 30 seconds.
30 seconds. And that's why I'm very particular with young people, because I know what 30 seconds did for me when I was a little boy. And he didn't talk to me. He just smiled at me and he just walked out. So when you're talking about you performing for that little girl sitting there, I'm like, wow, that was a couple of hours. And she got to, so yeah, we have to be very conscious. I mean, me being a comedic elder, I'm always conscious about what we do spiritually and what we send out spiritually. So thank you for doing that, because we don't know who that young girl is, but maybe one day she'll come up to you and say, thank you. Sister Abney,
you never know.
You never know. You never know. Yeah. So I mean, I'm glad you're sharing that, and for those who are watching and listening, I'm glad. Thank you so much for sharing that with them. That's important that we understand that we have a legacy to continue, because someone did it for you, and we have to do it for someone else. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So that was. I didn't know the conversation was going to go there, but I like it. You see. Family, that's why I love this sister so much. She is so cool, man. She just puts it out there and she challenged you to be better. I know she's a really cool sister.
So I'm in that challenge right along with you, being better, doing better.
Hey, you know what? We all have this journey that we're on, and we have to realize that as we have the journey, it gets better, it gets challenging, but someone's always watching us. I always remember that someone is always watching. The children are always watching us do something, and that's important. And you look at that. So let's talk a little bit about. Now we talk about the dance. Now I see you are in the process of transitioning into film. So yes, why that, and how is it going? How does it feel?
Yeah. So at a certain point, the movement starts to get in the way for me. And I just want to tell the story. Just let me tell the story. I'm about any process. I just want to do good work. So any process that I do at this point in my life, having done the work that I've done, I'm able to say no, which is a very powerful word. And I'm able to be more discerning about the work that I do take and the work that I don't. So, the movement sometimes gets in the way, and I'm past the point of wanting to do fluff and wanting to do more superficial things. Yes, I can do that here and there, but I don't want to base my entire career on that. Right. So that's what spurred the transition into film and TV. It's a study like anything, education. I trained for how many years before my first professional gig as a dancer? I trained for 14 years. before my first gig as a professional dancer,
Wow.
14 years of training, of consistent training, of training 5, 6 days a week before my first professional gig. That's what I need for myself. So for me, film and TV acting is no different. I need to back it up with a technique that for me. Now, some people don't require that, but for me, that's what I need. I prefer to feel supported by a technique. So I went back to school, Meisner trained. I'm still in school. I think I will always be in class.
Yeah.
I graduated from my Meisner training program, but I'm always a student because you can always get better. At no point will I say I've arrived. That's not a thing. It's not a thing.
Right.
No, you set a goal, you reach the goal, you set another one, and then you work to get that next goal.
Right.
So, yeah, it is. I love the feeling of it. We are at a very interesting time for all arts,
Yes.
and some days are better than others. Today is a more challenging day for me than most days are, than some days are. We're at a point, all of Broadway is shut down. All theater, period, is shut down. Film and TV right now, LA is completely shut down. All of Disney is shut down. I think Atlanta put a pause on it. Some Atlanta productions are at a pause, but they'll pick back up in the next couple weeks. We're at an interesting point. So I think all artists we're being challenged in a way that we never have been before.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Okay. So, I made a promo for this conversation that we're going to have, and in the promo I used some of your pictures from the Black Panther and your video and stuff like that. And some people said to me, I have two persons of interest, one in Zimbabwe, and I know she's going to watch this. Let's talk about as a dancer, and I heard you said this before, but I'd like you to talk about it again if you don't mind. As a professional dancer, how did you end up in the Black Panther? Because those who don't know the story, I'd like you just to talk about it, because when I heard you talk about it the first time, they said what I got of what you said was always be prepared to do your best. Because here you were a dancer and someone pulled you in, put your name in, and then you went in and you did your best and you end up being on the Black Panther. So let's talk about that. How did that happen, that process?
Yeah, so I was doing an off-Broadway show at the time, and I actually got was it a Facebook message? I think it was a Facebook or Instagram message from a woman that I had worked with on Lion King, and she very random. I haven't spoken to her in 5 years, and she says to me in a message, she said, "So, this director I know is looking for women to be in this upcoming movie. I know this sounds fake." This is what she said. "I know this sounds fake, but it's real. So let me know if you're interested, and I'll send him your headshot." At the time, I was bald. I had been bald for 5 years then. So I was like, "Yeah, I'm interested," and I sent her my headshot, and she sent it to whomever this director was. And come to find out, it was Ryan Coogler, and he was having difficulties finding women to fulfill the needs for the Dorn Lage. He needed women who were good handling choreography, handling movement, who had a certain look as well. So she submitted a group of us. He selected some of us. Production flew us down, and we auditioned, and he chose two of us.
Wow. Now, I'm listening to you. A couple of things you said there. As a technician, I'm always breaking things down. You said something. You said someone you haven't spoken to in 5 years.
5 years.
So, I mean, that message right there is one of the messages we always say: don't ever burn your bridges. Don't ever burn bridges, because 5 years separation, and that person still remembered you and still respected you enough to reach out to you.
Right.
That's very interesting, And like you said, and then you said another thing. You said that they submitted several pictures, and then you had to go down to Atlanta and do, I guess, perform and see if you're going to fit the role. And you did, obviously. And that tells me right there. Again, it comes down. Always be prepared, because you never. I have a saying I got from an elder. He said, always be prepared, because you never know what will come. So when it does come, you are prepared. You don't have to get ready. Be ready till you don't have to get ready.
You never have to get ready. Stay
And
ready.
yeah, and so I'm listening to you say that, and I'm like, wow, it's so true. Because now here you are in a movie that did some tremendous things globally.
Yeah.
Globally did some and it has put you out there. So how does it feel? I know now that you have hair in your head, and we'll talk about that. Now that you have hair in your head, I mean, it's not easy to to see you in a crowd of a lot of other women. Because before, when you walked in and you had a shaved head, you stuck out in a very positive way. At least to me, you did.
Mhm.
And so, how does it feel now that you've done Black Panther, and hopefully you're gonna do Black Panther too soon? How does it feel when your parents, your family, your friends, how was that for you with them when you walked into a room now?
Okay, I'm gonna say a couple things. Um, One, my hair is not my essence.
Mhm.
So, in the same way that I walked into a room with a bald head and uh, I perhaps caught attention, that don't have nothing to do with my hair. Nothing at all.
But that's your spirit, yeah. Yeah.
Correct. So I walk in with the same spirit regardless of my hair.
Mhm.
So, which is why I shaved my head to begin with. I wanted to divorce myself from the notion of my femininity being tied to my hair.
Right.
It works in the inverse as well. Hair
Mhm.
or no hair, I'm the same woman. I
Same
have the
person.
same spirit. I walk in with the same spirit. So that something that caught your attention when you saw me, sir, that's still very much present.
Oh no, I trust me, I know. I know that. No, it's that, it's that I guess because it's so not is for lack of a better word, it's so not normal to see shaved head women. Now you see them a little bit more
You
because
see
we
him
have
more now.
found out, yeah. But me growing up, like I said, I'm 59 years old. So me growing up, it's not something that was a normal thing that you saw, shaved
Right,
head women. So
right.
when I saw you walk into the room, even though I knew who you were before you walked into the room, I knew it was Adola Malaj, your sisters, some Black
Mhm.
Panthers were coming in and stuff like that. Blah, blah, blah. But like you said, when you walked into the room, shaved head or no head, this is the way you walked in. If your spirit just caught my attention because I
Yeah.
knew you were coming, right? So I was like, okay, but when you walked into that room, you carry a persona about yourself that's, hey, I'm here, respect me, I'm a woman, and I'm cool, I'm confident, and that's which is pretty cool.
Facts. And that's there regardless.
Yeah.
And going back to what I said before with Panther and how that came about, and this is something I have to remind myself of, and my partner also reminds me of this when I'm going through a day that's a struggle fest. What's for you is for you. So if something is meant for you, you will have it.
Yeah.
When after getting the Panther audition and I looked at I was not I'm not a Comic-Con person. I'm not into comic books. So I wasn't familiar with who Dora Milaje were. But when I looked them up and I saw them, I was like, this is me. I walk around New York. I go to the grocery store and I'm this. Like, this is my job. This is me. So in the same way that I had that feeling about Lion King, when I saw the Dora Milaje and who they were, I was like, this is my job.
that's
This is
your
my
job.
job.
This is your
Right, right. What's for you is for you,
yeah.
regardless of the obstacles and the challenges and the sometimes timing is very important. So it might not be the right time, but if it's meant for you, it will find you.
Mm-hmm.
What's for you is for you. Stay ready. You never got to get ready.
Right.
So as long as you're prepared, it's there for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm glad you said that. No, because something. I say that jokingly, but seriously, we're in a time right now where a lot of our young people don't understand what you just said, and so to hear someone like you, a confident woman of color, saying that, I hopefully it'll have an impact on some of our young girls that's out there that's trying to find themselves because I don't take it for granted where I am and what the spirit has given me. And so I know it wasn't given to me to keep. It was
Mm,
given to me to share with the people I come in contact with. I'm always conscious about it. Mostly when I'm from the Caribbean. So whenever I go back home and I see the young boys and girls down back home in St. Lucia, I've said, that could have been me if my parents didn't take me off the island back in the 60s.
right.
I could be down there. So I'm very conscious that that was for me to where I am right now is because of some certain acts that happened. And they happen consciously, they happen for a reason, deliberately happen to put me where I am right now talking to you today. This is not an accident,
Right.
And so because Khalil Massey could have gotten someone else to work with him on the show, but he asked me to help him, and because he asked me to help him, I ended up meeting you. And so
Mhm.
everything's interconnected in a very unique way. I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some of your future. I know So let's talk about some of your future goals. I know there's things you cannot talk about because they're in pre-production or you're going through NDAs and stuff like that. So let's talk about what you can talk about, some of the future goals that you have, things that's coming up. But I want people to I want the young people to understand that you are consistently planning what you're doing, because even though Broadway shut down, Miss Sister Abney is still planning and moving forward. So what's going on right now?
Well, you see my workouts. So even though Broadway shut down, I am staying ready. That's part of it, staying ready, and not just, I don't work out just for the aesthetics of it. Yes, that's part of it, but it's not only that. It's my way of practicing discipline. It's my way of meeting my boundaries and pushing past them. Yes, my body gets worn out. Yes, my body gets tired. Okay, press forward, press on. So that when I'm in a work situation, or when I'm in a real world non-workout situation and I meet a challenge, it's not a problem for my spirit to take it. It's not a problem for my soul to push past it, because I've been practicing that. I practice that in the gym when I do pull-ups. I practice that. I practice meeting a limitation and pushing past it. So that's what my working out is. That is how it's a mental conditioning for me. So that's always a part of my practice. Future plans, film and TV. What I want is to be, I want a series. I want to be a season regular. I want movies. I want to do good work. I want to do good work, and I want to do work in which I, as a Black woman, am able to embody a fully realized human being and portray that on screen. That's the work that I want to do. We're past the moment of, we should have never been there, but we're past the moment of sassy girl number 2 and no, I want to be a fully realized human being, a complicated human being, and not just the strong Black woman prototype either. We're vulnerable. We have vulnerabilities. We are soft. We hurt. We bleed. We have pain. We're human. We're human. So I want to be able to portray that on screen with good work. That's it.
Yeah. Well, you see, it's kind of interesting. I spoke to you about the series The Bench, and I did you a great disservice. I sent you the pilot. What's happening in that series is so different than the pilot, because we shot the pilot in 2018, and since 2018, the writer director, he has rewritten it. It's still a challenge, and so I said to myself, okay, she's not for now, but when we get to season 2, I want to send her.
I like it. I like it.
I said when I get to season 2. When we get to season 2, I want to send her season 1 and let her look at it and see why I want her in season 2.
I will expect it. I look out for it. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, because the pilot was really good for what we wanted, where we were, and the funding we had. But now that we have funders, investors in it, we actually went back and we rewrote everything. And in fact, we're saying that was a pilot, what I sent you. And we actually started at episode 1, which is, it taps into the pilot, but it goes off. It's really cool. The writer's having fun with it right now. So I said to myself, when we finish season 1 and we get all done, I want to send it to her and say, now you know why I want you in this.
I support it. Do it. I'll be on the lookout for it. I can't wait to receive it.
Oh, trust me, you're like, in my list, in my bucket list for the series, I got you right up there in the top 3.
I love it. Done.
Oh yeah. No, because I love your energy. I love your spirit. And when I meet people like you, I look to work with them. Like the lead actress, Claudia Edwards. I met her several years ago, and she was just so professional, so nice to me. I asked her for some stuff. She did it for me and stuff like that. She's a professional singer, and I never forgot her. I met her husband. She and her husband are mad cool with me. They help me. They support what I do in the Caribbean. So when we start the series, I said, listen, you could do whatever you want to with the series, just getting characters, but the one character you cannot touch is her. I told people you cannot touch her because she is that important to the role. She's a strong Black woman, and I want, and she shows her vulnerability, she shows her independence, she shows her mother's side, her wife's side, and everything. And so when we finish the season 1.
Do it. I can't wait. I can't wait to find it in my inbox. It's gonna be great.
Oh yeah, so the thing about it is, like you said, I want to do films. I want to do projects that challenges us as a people, and I respect all cultures. But for me, as a man of color, I think I have a responsibility to make sure I put something out there that shows my culture to a certain, and how my culture could interconnect with other cultures.
Mm,
Because as I was coming up when I was in college, I had some a great Italian family in Florida that helped me so much when I was in Florida going to school. And so I don't put anyone to the side. I just know who I am, and because I know who I am, I'm comfortable dealing with everybody else on a
mm.
respectful level. So when I see you doing the stuff you're doing, I'm like, I'm not a dancer like that, but I could appreciate what she's doing.
Yes,
So, and
yes.
that's the and I thank you for what you're doing, because like you said, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of young girls watching you on what you're doing, and hearing the transition from being a professional dancer, now you're into acting, you're doing the acting, I mean the Black Panther and whatever else you're working on. So thank you for what you're doing, because you know I had the high honor to meet Dr. Martin Luther King's wife, widow Curtis Scott King, and I met his son. I had an opportunity to work with them. And one thing I realized, Dr. King set a path for us, not just to enjoy and walk it, but to make it better. And
Mm.
so when I see what you're doing, and Avin Ailey and all the people, Ms. Jameson and all the people who came before you, you are actually, making it better. And that's I think that's part of your legacy. So thank you so much for what you're doing. I really appreciate seeing what you're doing out there like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
and I want you to give some of your give your Instagram page and all the stuff, because I want people to see those workouts. If you guys like working out and breaking a sweat, you gotta join her. You gotta do her workouts with her, because I'll be sitting there looking at sometimes and I'm sweating. So
Good.
give me your social media contacts.
Yes. So my IG is Marija_ABNEY. First name underscore last name.
Yeah. And family, please support her. I'm gonna have her say something in closing just now, but before she does, um, we have a responsibility, and for me, I take that very seriously, that we use our God-given talents to make our global community better. And so I get a chance to talk with fantastic people like Sister Abney and what things she's doing. So let's support her and what she's doing. So next time you see her, at a movie premiere or something, make sure you get a picture of her or get her autograph or something from her. So, no, and I laugh about it, but seriously, it makes the artists feel good. The artists who are not full of themselves, they understand that you're taking the time and asking them for their autograph or a picture, a selfie with them and stuff. We appreciate. They appreciate that. So, Sister Abney, in closing, and thank you so much for your time today. In closing, what would you like to say to the global community?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure what the climate, what the temperature is necessarily globally. I can speak for what it is in the US and perhaps in Europe with what's happening with the pandemic and whatnot. Um, we are in challenging times. Know that where we are, it's day by day, it's moment by moment. Practice self-care. Take care of yourself. Call your folks and have a moment. Have a moment. That's another thing that my workouts are. It was my best friend and I getting together every morning and just checking in with one another and having a moment of human connection, even virtually, even digitally, even over Zoom. Take care of yourself. We're in a moment where we need to take care. Do whatever it is that means for you. Yes, do all the work, push forward, but take care.
Thank you very much. And I like to say, and to Sister Kumbi, my point person in Zimbabwe, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. And check Kumbi, you need to check her Instagram page, okay, in the morning. So, Sister Abney, hey, I'm putting you in Zimbabwe, sister. I'm taking you everywhere I go.
I
I'm
like
taking you to
it.
Zimbabwe, Botswana. We have an office in Zimbabwe, so I'm taking you there, taking you to Botswana also. So,
Let's go. I've never been, so let's go.
yeah, let's go. Okay,
Post
let's
pandemic.
go. So you have a wonderful rest of the week, and thank you for your time. And you have my number. Whatever I could do to support you, please let me know. Okay.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Peace and blessings, sis. Okay. Good night.